Oh my goodness, y'all. I just recorded a 20-minute rant about Karen Reed. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, oh my God, should I call suicide prevention? I mean, I sounded so depressed. So I just wanted to say I'm not really as sad as I sound. I guess when I talk about her, it's just really hard to be upbeat, because she's just so diabolical and dark and sinister that I just think that it just brings the mood so down. So yeah, but just wanted to let you know that's just when I talk about her. She hasn't affected my life or my little Bella's life or anything else. So don't worry about me. We're doing okay. But I just thought I'd share how frustrating it is to see. Mainly what got me off on that tangent was those comments, because I was like, how in the world? I'm 66 years old, and I don't know if you know it or not, but I consider myself a pretty experienced person. I mean, I lived in Manhattan for 20 years, Queens for another 25 years, and next to a Manhattan girl, a Queens girl, or a Bronx girl. I never lived in the Bronx, worked in the Bronx, but I was born in Brooklyn. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I don't want to brag on myself, but I've seen a lot. And I mean, back in the 70s, I used to go up to Harlem. We used to take the train up there. We'd ride the subways. I mean, I cannot even begin to tell you some of the exposure to things that I've seen and had. And I don't know if I'm just, too cushioned life or something the past 20, 30 years, but I've never seen anything like what goes on when, at the courthouse, or when you see any video that involves a Karen Reed supporter. I've never seen anything like it. And I know I'm not naive, and I know, and I'm scared, but going forward, they're going to do this with so many cases, but hopefully not this bad, because honestly, when I saw last year all the way that they had taken up for her, I was like, oh boy, it's going to be that way with every case going forward. And we've had some pretty, sensational headlines. And like, I thought they were going to do it for Ashley Benenfield, and they didn't. And I also, I can't think of what, there were a couple of cases that I thought, oh, this is going to turn into a Karen Reed fiasco, and it didn't. So I'm crossing my fingers that this, for some reason, is just an anomaly, and it's not going to be this way with every single case where the public is just saying everything is corrupt, everything is a cover-up, and the guilty people are so innocent. I mean, I'm just praying that that's not going to become the new normal. But yeah, so I figured I'd upload that video that I made, even though it's so depressing. I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't stay listening to it. But yeah, so I mean, it is what it is, right? Okay, well, that's it. Here's the video. Thanks, y'all. Bye now. Oh my goodness. I was listening to, what was it? I'm not even sure what it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know how divisive the Karen Reed case is. I mean, trust me, I've been following it for 2 years. So I really do know that I have not seen people on opposite sides like this since I cannot remember when. Maybe never, okay? Maybe never. Because usually when I see people on both sides like this, I can kind of, hear their side and go, well, maybe, but what about this and what about that? And I usually wind up on a different side. But I was reading the comments on that particular video. It's of the most recent interview that she did. And I have to say, I think it is a lost cause, because how in the world, I mean, I can look high and low and I cannot find anybody that thinks that Karen Reed is guilty, except for if I go to Roberta's channel, then I can find a slew of people. Or if I go to Boundless Millennial, yeah. But short of going to those two channels, even when I go to a channel that is like neutral, like Inside Edition, or some channel that just decides to cover the case, or Behavior Panel, or Kimberlea, or Annie Elise, 10 to Life, doesn't matter. Anything but Roberta and Boundless's channel, that's all you see. And you see it in such a way that you say, this is a lost cause. I mean, I thought that I had such a disgust for Wendy when I watched the way that she gave her testimony, slanting everything that would make her look in the best possible light. When I watched her 5-hour interview, I mean, I never ever believed that she actually had something to do with the hit on her husband, on Dan Markel. I never did. I always believed that she knew about it and didn't try to dissuade it. But the more I thought about it, the more I watched on it, I realized that I don't think that she knew about it. I just think that the second that she realized that her parents and Charlie did it, she was not going to turn them in, that's for sure. And secondly, she was so happy that he was gone and that she was now free to raise her boys, have all the decision making, have all that money, be able to go back to Miami. I mean, you name it. And she was happy about it. And she did not give a flying fig about him being killed. But I never believed, after everything I've seen, that she had anything to do with it, other than ramping up all the lies that she told her family so that they would maybe take her side. But I don't think she counted on the stupid way they chose to solve her problem. But I bring her up because I don't usually spend time hating on people. If they get on my nerves or I don't like them, or I'll see a particular witness like Jodi Arias, I just move on. I can't. And I just move on. I don't sit there and continue to watch them while they annoy the hell out of me. It's pointless to do that, right? So, same goes for Wendy. You know, as she started to really get on my nerves, I had to just check out. You know, I can't anymore because she's not going to get convicted or even arrested, and I'm done, right? Gave up on her. But that was the most I ever disliked a person that I didn't even know. I mean, for a while there, I was just looking every day after Donna got arrested. Oh, did Wendy get arrested? And I was so hoping that she did. And that's all kind of weird for me because I'm not one of those people that, get consumed with other people's lives. I mean, I'm realistic and I know they have nothing to do with me. And even if she were to get arrested or tried or convicted, it wouldn't affect my life any. So I try to maintain that kind of logic, and I just, Godspeed, whatever. I mean, I'll temporarily let it entertain me or amuse me or satisfy me, but it doesn't do anything for me in the long term, so I don't generally invest too much. But I will say that I was probably the most invested than I'd ever been before in watching and hoping that she would get justice or some form of justice, or at the very least dragged through the legal system and have to go through all that, say, Karen Reed has gone through to prove that her innocence and lose the public, perception of her, and just have to go through the embarrassment and the humiliation of having everything of hers aired out in public. And even though I did not think she would ever be convicted, I would have loved to see that happen to her. But like I said, I thought that was the floor of my disdain and dislike for a person. I didn't think it could get any worse than Wendy. Every time anybody would mention a horrible person, in my mind, Wendy would just pop into it because she was always just a thought away of how she pretty much, I'm not going to say got away with murder, but had the best possible outcome happen, and she's not paying for it in any way, shape, or form, while 6 other people are just, their lives are trashed. It just seems so wrong. And it really bothered me. But, like I said, it pales in comparison to what I have witnessed with Karen Reed. I mean, when I think that she called Jennifer and Carrie at, 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, and they just, or 5 o'clock, whatever time she bothered them, and they just ran to her rescue. I mean, they got together like besties, well, good friends do, say, come over, we'll go look for him. I mean, those are the things that a friend does. And in the middle of a blizzard, and the reward for that was being accused and having their children accused and having their lives turned upside down and harassed on a daily, hourly, minute-by-minute basis by all the Karen Reed people. It's mind-blowing. It just blows my mind. I didn't think, after watching that interview that she gave recent, that I could ever have any more disdain or disgust for somebody than I did for Wendy. But I will tell you that what I think and feel when I look at what this masquerade that I know it is, that Karen Reed has pulled over everybody except for a few of us that know the deal. I mean, even if she didn't hit him with her car, and we all know that she did, to be able to try to turn the blame onto innocent people and shred their lives with what she's done is so despicable. I don't even have words for it. And I'm not going to go into therapy or anything, but I'm going to spend the next couple of days really trying to process what I saw in that interview and know what's coming with weeks, in a few weeks with that trial. And then subsequently, if she actually does get off, well, with a little luck, honestly, the best thing that could happen is that she gets off. If she does low key and goes into the woodwork and goes and lives her life, then the best thing could happen is that she gets let off. But if she gets let off and then she starts, trying to maintain her popularity by suing people and making all this change in the court in Massachusetts and leading all these movements, and then it'll just be a never-ending saga of just complete and utter, I don't know, chaos. I can't even. So I'm really hoping that the trial comes and she either loses. Well, losing would be the best thing. I mean, winning. Because can you imagine these people, the things they say about their own city officials? I mean, don't get me wrong. There might be a handful that, well, I don't think they're corrupt in the movies, where they're getting thousands of dollars and drugs and, I don't think they're corrupt like that. I mean, a lot of police officers are a little too puffed up, and maybe the couple of them were puffed up. And, even Michael Proctor, I mean, his life has just been torn to shreds. And if it's true that on one occasion, or you got to figure the one occasion was caught in the text, so maybe a couple of occasions, he did drive the police car a little bit, drunk or whatever. That's not cool. And kind of gotta pay for that. I mean, you just can't be that big of a hypocrite and just walk on that charge. I think he probably should be disciplined for that, and possibly, since they can't prove that he was drunk, but that it's more than likely because of the text messages, I do think he needs to be disciplined. And whether it's 6 months without pay or maybe just what he's gone through has been enough of a punishment. And, I mean, I get that. I'm not saying that he's an angel, but you can just tell that he never in a million years expected his own private phone, although he's foolish if he didn't, because we all know, you can't write one thing today and not expect it to come back and bite you in the butt. But oh my goodness, what has happened to that man's life? He's actually, what I was reading, he went into day 3 of a hearing. He didn't even testify in it, so that's kind of not good. I would have thought he'd want to explain to the committee that, you know, he because if you look at what he did with the Karen Reed messages through a lens. I mean, they never even celebrated him. I mean, I don't know if celebrate is the right word, but they never even gave him kudos for when he was flipping through the phone. He came across something, I can't remember what it was, and boom, put the phone down, said, nope, can't look anymore. I forget what it was. But he didn't have to do that. If he was so corrupt, he would have just kept going, kept looking, but he didn't. And to me, maybe he plays fast and loose with some of the rules, and maybe that needs to be addressed. I don't say no, but why can't it be, or why couldn't it have been addressed through closed doors? Why did it have to have him torn apart limb by limb in the press and be called some of the names? I mean, that punishment did not fit the crime. If he was, excuse me, if he did go a little bit rogue every once in a while, and when I say that, I use the term lightly, I don't think that he ever would manipulate evidence or any of that. But now his life is in tatters. I mean, they're probably going to start opening up cases that he did. I mean, it's over. He doesn't have a prayer. I don't see him ever coming out of this. And I don't believe that he deserved this. I really don't. I mean, he's a little arrogant, and he's a little bit of an unsympathetic character in some regards. But if you look at the whole town through a certain lens, you say, he's not so bad. At least that's what But what happened to the McCabe's? And oh my goodness, the Alberts and the kids. I mean, it's disgusting. I could never. I mean, I would rather go to prison. Hell, I'd rather be shot by a firing squad than turn people's lives into the shambles that she did. I mean, shambles, that's not even a good enough word. I mean, I think of earthquake. I mean, okay, I'll tell you what I could compare what she's done to. Have you seen the Pacific Palisades lately? Because to me, that's the kind of devastation that her lies and her grifting have caused to so many people's lives and to our justice system and to our YouTube universe and to our society. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's not just one little case. It has just become so larger than life and so divisive. I mean, I haven't seen things this bad since race relations got really, amped up, like with George Floyd and even then you had tons of white people that were sympathetic and denouncing the cops right along with the Black Lives Matter. So it wasn't even like it was split down the middle. And this case isn't split down the middle either. I'd have to say, if I had to estimate what percentage of people side with Karen Reed, I'm going to say 90 to 95%. Because like I said earlier today, I was reading the comments. I mean, I had to stop after about 30 or 40 of them, but I was just scrolling down because I was like, surely out of 1,000 comments, there's going to be one. Even if it's one of those ones that's on the fence, like, I don't know that she's innocent, but I definitely don't think the prosecution proved it. Or if there was some that were like, I think she's guilty, but I don't think they proved it. Well, that's actually saying the same thing. I'm tired. Been talking too long. But you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes there's Karen Reed leaners and some that aren't 100% convinced. But then there's the fanatics. And in the comments that I looked at, it was all fanatics. And I just never, I'm a big comment reader. I always read comments. And I've never seen anything where, the last time another thing I remember way back in the day, I used to be so into phones. I used to actually root them, and I would mod them, and I just loved Android phones so much. And I wouldn't go near an Apple phone at the time because you couldn't mod them. If you jailbroke it, you ruined it. It wasn't like Android. And so I used to love to read all the comments on when we would get a new skin or a new build or whatever it was. And I would just see all the hate for Android from the Apple iPhone users. And that was maybe the closest thing to this that I'd ever experienced, because people would be so unreasonable. And even though Android was better in every way, except maybe in refinement, Android was not as refined as Apple. It was like, Apple at the time was like the BMW or the Mercedes of a cell phone. And so those were the snobs that you would encounter. But it wasn't, it just, I'd never seen anything like that either, how one camp was against the other camp. But man, that finally, died down when Android stepped up its game and Google just got, more into phone designing, and then it became, a level playing field. But I've never seen anything like this. I'll say it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. I never am ceased to be amazed when I see the cold hard facts about this case, and people just refusing to what's the word? Acknowledge. I mean, I said it earlier, but I think my tape got cut off. But to me, Karen readers, free Karen readers, or the fuckers like I like to call them, it's as if they have their fingers in their ear, and behind their fingers they have earplugs, and then they have headphones on top of that, and then they have gauze bandage wrapped around their head like 50 times, and then they have a helmet on. That's how reluctant they are. So this is the laptop. It just all of a sudden went to the screensaver, and I mean, it's bizarre. We talk about popping. It's a very bizarre phenomenon, and I don't know. I don't know where it's going from here, but we'll know in a couple of months, right? All right, that's all I got. Bye, y'all.